Hi everyone, good morning. We are live on YouTube. This is the class net online class, and I am teaching the period of the Civil War. This is an introduction to the period of John Milton. And I thought I will just go live for our YouTube babies also. Right. Milton and his contemporaries. That is what we are going to talk about today. Are you all ready? We just finished the Jacobean period. And before we move on to Milton, let me ask you quickly some questions. In the time of Milton, there was the Civil War. And in the Civil War, who became the Lord Protector of England? Who became the Lord Protector of England? It is Oliver Cromwell. In which year were the theatres closed? It is in 1642. The theatres were closed in 1642. In which year were the theatres opened? It was in 1660. The theatres were opened in 1660. Very good. Do you remember the year in which Milton wrote Paradise Lost and published it? In which year was Paradise Lost published for the first time? It is in 1667. At that time, it had only 10 books. Yes, we are going to talk about all this. Last question before we move on. Do you know which is the Epyllion or the Little Epic by Milton? Epyllion or Little Epic by Milton. It is Paradise Regained. It is in 4 books. Paradise Regained. It is in 4 books. Right? So we are going to move on. Milton is a very important author for NET. I will include some additional questions and we will do some reading comprehension, etc. so that it will help you. Don't worry. This is the time of the Civil War. And this man, Charles I, was beheaded. Oh my God. Charles I was the son of James I, as you know. Charles I ruled England, Scotland, and Ireland. And he believed in divine right theory of kings. Divine right theory of kings. He had the French Catholic queen, Henrietta Maria. And he was a high church Anglican whose ideals and practices closely resembled those of the Roman Catholics. Okay, soon, when we move a little forward with this presentation, I won't be doing the entire presentation today. I will just do the initial part. But when we move forward, there will be some questions based on the period. So pay attention to this. Charles I was a high church Anglican whose ideals and practices closely resembled those of the Roman Catholics. And he was associated with the controversial ecclesiastics like William Laud, whom he appointed Archbishop of Canterbury. Remember, before this, the Archbishop of Canterbury was Thomas Cranmer. Do you remember from the material that we looked at on Bible translations? Do you remember? Thomas Cranmer was one of the translators of the Bible. And Thomas Cranmer also brought out the Book of Common Prayer. Thomas Cranmer brought out the Book of Common Prayer. Right. Like that, Thomas Cranmer was the Archbishop during the Reformation. When Reformation came to England, at that time, Thomas Cranmer was the Archbishop. But now, in the Civil War period, William Laud is the controversial Archbishop. And his new Book of Common Prayer is creating trouble. It leads to bishops' wars. Bishops' wars. Let us talk about all that. The events leading to the Civil War. At this time, do you know the king introduced popular taxes? Now, one of the new areas that I'm going to introduce to you in the course of this net course, which I never did before, is taxes and rules. Taxes, laws, rules. There will be questions based on that sometimes because they are part of social history. Okay, I am preparing that. I have already made a big list of taxes, laws, rules, etc. And we will share that and revise all that in our typical way. We'll remember all that. You don't have to worry. Remember this, there were unpopular taxes, including the one called ship money, 1634. The Parliament opposed Charles. Parliament did not like all these new things he is doing. Charles refused to accept the Parliament's demands for constitutional monarchy. And Charles ruled without the Parliament for 11 years. It was called 11 years tyranny. He did not take the opinion of the Parliament. He ruled without the Parliament for 11 years. This is called 11 years tyranny. This is what led to the civil war in a way. And at this time, bishops' wars also broke out in Scotland. In Scotland, Charles tried to introduce high church Anglicanism, which was like Catholicism. High church Anglicanism he tried to introduce. And what happened is the Protestants of Scotland protested. The Protestants of Scotland protested. Bishops' war broke out. What do you mean by Bishops' war 1639-40? Bishops' wars followed the 11 years of Charles's personal rule without the consent of the Parliament. Bishops' wars means the bishops are fighting against the church and against Charles's religious policies, not church, religious policies. And this is like a prelude to the civil war. And what is bishops' wars? It is the result of the conflict between Charles I and the Scots. Charles wanted to establish an episcopal system of church governance. What is the difference between episcopal and presbyterian? The episcopal system of church governance means with bishops, there are bishops. What is the presbyterian system of church governance without bishops? It is without bishops. Dear friends, are you following me? I'm asking my friends on Zoom, my students, are you getting polls based on all the chapters in the Telegram group? Are you getting polls every day? Yes, very good. So that will help you. Now, when we start the LEAP test, remember to read whatever there is there in the encyclopedia and the material, whatever I've taught you, extra slides also. You are so lucky because all the new slides that I've added, nobody has got. I'm so happy with the way we are progressing with the editing of the PPTs. You should read all that. Plus read extra because I've made questions, Setu and me have made questions where they'll give you known facts plus unknown facts. So it'll be like the exam. So read like that. When I teach you what is Episcopal and Presbyterian, you should also look up what is Episcopal and then you will understand deeply. Okay. So the King Charles wanted to establish an Episcopal system with bishops, but the Presbyterian system is what the Scottish leaders wanted. The first bishops' war broke out when Charles attempted to regulate liturgy in Scotland by imposing Archbishop Laud's Book of Common Prayer. I told you that was a controversial book and it was introduced in 1637. Okay, so what is liturgy? It is religious practice. It is very dangerous. If you study in Hindi, you should study all these words that I've given. They're all very important. Liturgy. What do you mean by what is the word? Evangelical. Evangelical. There are so many religious words that you should know. Only then we'll understand this context. Evangelical means spreading of Christianity. Ecclesiastical means to do with church governance, church. Okay, they can give you words like that and ask you to correctly match with the definitions. If you do not know correctly, you will be in confusion. Now coming to the Civil War. It was in two phases, 1642 to 1646 and then 1648 to 1654. The first phase was when Charles was put under house arrest and the Parliament pleaded with Charles to listen to them, to accept their petition, but Charles was not willing. And then in the second phase, Charles was beheaded. Oliver Cromwell became the ruler. And Oliver Cromwell eventually called himself the Lord Protector of England. That is in 1653. He became the Lord Protector of England. Do you know the year in which Charles was beheaded? It was 1649. So Charles was held in captivity. He was held in captivity from 1647. They can ask you to chronologically arrange the events that happened during the Civil War. Events of the Civil War. They can ask you to chronologically arrange. I will give you all that practice afterwards. Okay? So Charles was held in captivity in 1647. He was put under trial. They will ask you even more events. I have only given some here. And then he was asked to plead, but he refused to. He believed in divine right theory. Charles believed that nobody can do anything to me. I will be protected by God. But what happened? He was beheaded on 26th January. No, he was condemned to death on 26th January and he was beheaded on 30th January 1649. 30th January, the day on which Mahatma Gandhi was also assassinated. 30th January 1649. That is the regicide. What do you mean by regicide? Regicide means killing of a king, isn't it? Now, the socio-political conditions of the time. Look at this, everybody. The theatres were considered immoral by the Puritans and the theatres were closed in 1642. There were Puritan attacks on professional theatre and female actresses. William Prynne wrote Histriomastics in 1632. William Prynne wrote Histriomastics, attacking theatres. Okay, this is an important document. You should remember this year. At that time, the Queen, Charles I's Queen, Henrietta Maria, was rehearsing a play and Prynne was sentenced to cruel punishment. Okay, don't think that all these things they will not ask. In net, they keep shifting the focus. So last time, they did not ask very much from 16th, 17th, 18th centuries. So this time they might. Or the next time they might. One of these times they might. So we have to study everything in a very easy way. The king was beheaded and then started the period of Commonwealth. 1649 to 53 is the period of Commonwealth. 1653 to 58 is the time of Oliver Cromwell's protectorate. Oliver Cromwell ruled as Lord Protector from 1653 to 1658. They might not only ask you to arrange chronologically, they will also ask you which of these events is wrongly matched with the year. So please study like that. Now, Icon Basilic. What is that Icon Basilic? It is an autobiography of Charles that emerged at this time. Icon Basilic is the autobiography of Charles that emerged at this time. It is subtitled, The Portraiture of His Sacred Majesty in His Solitude and Sufferings. So maybe somebody else wrote it and called it autobiography. It was published 10 days after the king was beheaded. And icon means what? Icon means portrait or image. Basilic means royal. So Icon Basilic means royal portrait. Icon Basilic means royal portrait. Now we come to the Cavalier poets. I'm just teaching you the basics. We have to do exam style practice. Are you all attending the revision course, progressive revision course? Tell me. Are you trying to read Cadden for the progressive revision course? You should definitely attend. Progressive revision course is the best thing that is happening. You have to attend. Whatever else you study, you have to attend that day, progressive revision course. And we will go through those books where questions are coming from. And it'll be amazing in the exam. Don't miss out. For sure, you should attend. Now, the Cavalier poets are Herrick Carew. I have already told you they are Cavalier poets. Remember when we talked about Ben Jonson? What did we remember? What do you remember? Ben Jonson wrote The New Inn, one of his last plays. And oh my God, it failed in the church. In the stage, in the theatre. The New Inn failed in the theatre. And Ben Jonson wrote ode to himself. Ben Jonson wrote ode to himself, crying about, oh no, oh Ben Jonson, why are you writing? Nobody wants your plays. That is ode to himself. And Herrick wrote ode to Ben Jonson. Carew wrote to Ben Jonson. Do you remember, everyone? So Herrick and Carew are metaphysical poets as well as Cavalier poets. Okay? They are metaphysical poets as well as Cavalier poets. Herrick and Carew. There was Edmund Waller, John Suckling, Richard Lovelace. These are other Cavalier poets. What did the Cavalier poets do? They celebrated the idealized relationship between Charles I and his queen, Henrietta Maria. The king is there, Charles I. The queen is there, Henrietta Maria. Their relationship is idealized by the Cavalier poets. And the Cavalier poets upheld Platonism in Herrick's Hesperides, in Lovelace's Lucasta. Very famous works. They will ask questions. In Robert Herrick's Hesperides, in Richard Lovelace's Lucasta, the Cavalier poets upheld Platonism. Yet, sometimes they questioned the idealized depictions of Platonic love. The Cavalier poets idealized love, but they also questioned love. Clear? They were doing both. Herrick, Carew, Waller, Suckling, and Lovelace. Remember them. So let me ask you one or two questions. Everybody open your chat boxes on Zoom. Let me ask you one or two questions. Tell me, what is the name of Charles I's autobiography? Charles I's autobiography. It is Icon Basilic. Very good. You are saying the correct answer. Icon Basilic. Tell me who wrote. Who are the two people who wrote Histriomastics? Who are the two people who wrote Histriomastics? One is Marston. Yes, Marston wrote Histriomastics. Marston. MH. Remember our code? Maharashtra. MH. Marston Histriomastics. And William Prynne also wrote Histriomastics. Do you remember the amazing code we studied for Marston? What is that code? The code we studied for Marston. Mar in Malayalam. Remember? Mar. Antonio and Melida. Why is Antonio coming? Antonio's revenge. Yeah. Mar in Malayalam means move. What is our code? Who is coming? Antonio and Mar. Somebody is coming. Who is coming? Antonio and Melida are coming. And why is Antonio coming? To take revenge. Why is he going to take revenge? Because he is the malcontent. Isn't it? He is the malcontent. And then, what was the next one? Malcontent then? How is he taking revenge? You are wondering, why is he taking revenge? Remember? You are wondering, why is he taking revenge? What is wrong with this? And then I'm saying, don't worry, I will tell you the story from the beginning. You are wrong. There, you missed one. I'll tell you the story from the beginning. What is the first one? The first book that he wrote, Histriomastics. So next one is Histriomastics. And Histriomastics, what does it mean? Beating with a stick. Who are you beating? Villains. So next book is Scourge of Villainy. Now got it? Antonio and Melida, Antonio's revenge, then the malcontent, then Histriomastics, then the Scourge of Villainy. Correct. And after revenge is taken, everybody is beaten. Then as you are saying, Jack Drum's entertainment. We'll have some entertainment. Jack Drum's entertainment. Correct. You are saying correctly. Jack Drum's entertainment. Then in such an entertainment, you can do what you will. And next one, what is happening in the entertainment? The Dutch courtesan is coming and dancing. This is our code. Wonderful. You are remembering everything. I'm proud of you. Okay. Cavalier poets are Herrick, Carew, Edmund Waller, Suckling, Lovelace. They celebrated the idealized relationship between the king and the queen. And sometimes they questioned depictions of Platonic love also. Very good, everyone. Now let us talk about Herrick. Herrick was born in 1591. Oh, that is 30 years after Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon, 1561. And that was the same year in which Amelia Lanier also was born. Remember? Very good. Robert Herrick, 1591 to 1674. Robert Herrick was a friend of Ben Jonson. He was influenced by Ben Jonson, and he took holy orders in 1623. He became a clergyman. Took holy orders means he became a clergyman. And do you know, guys, Robert Herrick wrote prolifically. He wrote a lot. He was a royalist. He was a royalist. He was not a Puritan. He was a royalist. And he died a bachelor at the age of 83. He lived a long life and wrote a lot of poetry. And a lot of his poetry is about other themes, not love. He did not write about any mistress or anything. That is Robert Herrick. And his major work is Hesperides, 1648. Okay, in the later in the chapter in Metaphysical Poets, we'll talk about Robert Herrick more. Okay, everyone? Later, we'll also talk about Robert Herrick again. Thomas Carew. You know what is most important for me about Thomas Carew? He wrote an elegy for John Donne. Thomas Carew wrote an elegy for John Donne, where he called John Donne the monarch of wit. Carew was both a metaphysical poet and a Cavalier poet. He wrote true Cavalier poetry, polished, gay, witty, and he was a very greatly accomplished poet of this time, Thomas Carew. Do you know Edmund Waller? Very famous wit and poet of his time. He was elected to Parliament when he was only 16 years old. Array, he is only a child. And he wrote closed couplets like Dryden and Pope. Dryden and Pope wrote closed couplets. What do you mean by closed couplets? The couplet is ending in meaning. The meaning ends in the couplet. It is not run on. Okay? Edmund Waller wrote two well-known short poems, On a Girdle and Go Lovely Rose. Edmund Waller wrote On a Girdle and Go Lovely Rose. He also wrote the topographical poem on St. James's Park. He wrote the topographical poem on St. James's Park. Then there is John Suckling, 1609. John Suckling was born in 1609. This is an important year. It is in this year Thomas Thorpe published Shakespeare's sonnets. Thomas Thorpe published Shakespeare's sonnets in quarto form in 1609. Suckling was influenced by Johnson and Donne both because they were both very influential writers of that time. He was a poet and a playwright and a worldly courtier. He wrote the wits or sessions of the poets. It is a satirical mock ballad. Okay? Wits or sessions of the poet is a satirical mock ballad. Then he wrote Aglora, a tragedy. The Goblins, it is based on The Tempest. Goblins. It is based on The Tempest. Ballad upon a Wedding. Why so pale and wan, fond lover? That is a famous poem from this time. Ballad upon a Wedding. And why so pale and wan, fond lover? The last writer among the Cavaliers is Richard Lovelace. Richard Lovelace. He was the handsome son of a wealthy Kentish knight. He gained a romantic reputation and he combined Petrarchan and metaphysical styles. There are two famous poems that we should know. To Lucasta, Going to the Wars. Richard Lovelace wrote To Lucasta, Going to the Wars, and also To Althea from Prison. To Lucasta and to Althea. There are very famous lines in Althea, To Althea from Prison. Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. These are famous lines from To Althea from Prison. And this poem, To Althea from Prison, was included in Bishop Thomas Percy's Relics of Ancient English Poetry. Bishop Thomas Percy's Relics of Ancient English Poetry. Very good. Let me ask you some questions from what we have already done. Just random questions. We have done a lot of exam style practice. Do you remember? So what is buskin. Tell me, what is a buskin? What is a buskin? It is shoes worn by the actors in a tragedy, isn't it? The shoes worn by actors in a tragedy. That is called buskin. Very good. Now tell me, who wrote Pamphylia to Amphilanthus? Who wrote Pamphylia to Amphilanthus? It is Lady Mary Roth. Correct? Lady Mary Roth. All right. Very good. Now, do you remember where do you have the character Orgoglio? Where do you have the character Orgoglio? Orgoglio is in Fairy Queen. He's a monster sent by Duessa. Who is Duessa? Whom does Duessa represent? Duessa represents Mary, Queen of Scots. That's right. Mary, Queen of Scots. Very good. Now, do you remember something? I will tell you the names of some characters. You should tell me which of them is not there in Fairy Queen. Okay, which of them is not there in Fairy Queen? Britomart. Easy. Yes, Britomart is there in book 3 particularly. Then, Amorata. Yes, yes, Amorata is there. Amorata. Pastorella. Pastorella is also there. Clorin. Shepherdess Clorin. Shepherdess Clorin is in Faithful Shepherdess. She is still remembering her lover. Okay, Shepherdess Clorin. Just for fun, I asked. They can ask you who of the... I have given a lot in the new slides. Did you see that? Once again, read the new slides on Fairy Queen. It will be very important. Okay, very good. Because Fairy Queen is prescribed in universities, and I know that there will be questions very soon. That is why. All right. Now let me ask you another question. Do you know who is the author of Ballad Upon a Wedding? Who is the author of Ballad Upon a Wedding? Ta-da-dang. Just now we talked about it. Just now. It is John Suckling. That's right. It is John Suckling. Very good. Now tell me, in which year was Hamlet in Purgatory published? There is our code. Our code is there. Hamlet in Purgatory, published in which year? Don't you know? Yes, that's right. Hamlet was in 1601. Hamlet in Purgatory by Stephen Greenblatt was in 2001. 2001. Very good. Do you know Shakespeare, The Invention of the Human? Who's the author of that? Shakespeare, The Invention of the Human. Indeed, it is Harold Bloom. Harold Bloom. Who speaks the epilogue in Twelfth Night? Who speaks the epilogue in Twelfth Night? It is Feste. Feste, the clown. Who speaks the epilogue in As You Like It? Epilogue in As You Like It is spoken by the heroine, Rosalind. Who wrote Rosalind Golden Legacy? Rosalind Golden Legacy, which is a source for As You Like It. It is Thomas Lodge. That's right. Thomas Lodge, which is the play by Robert Greene, which became the source for Winter's Tale. Indeed, it is Pandosto. That's right. Pandosto. In which year did Martin Luther publish his 95 Theses? Martin Luther. 1517. It was in 1517. Okay, very good, guys. Wonderful. You said all the answers. I'm proud of you all. Now, the English Civil War. Just a few more slides. The English Civil War was the effect of Reformation. Because of Reformation, the Civil War happened between Catholics and Protestants. And the English Civil War was a response to the needs of the rising middle class. There was national disillusionment. The aristocracy and its dependents were Cavaliers. There was the rise of the landed gentry. Commercial and trading classes were there. The landed gentry was there. And the protectorate came under Oliver Cromwell. Protectorate was, you can say, from 1653 to 60, because in 1649, Oliver Cromwell is ruling, but he is not called the protector. The king was beheaded in 1649. I will make it 1653. It is slightly more correct, because protectorate, the name came from 1653 only. The protectorate was from 1653 to 60. What happened in 1660? Restoration. Cromwell belonged to the landed gentry. Cromwell was not an aristocrat. He belonged to the landed gentry. He supported authority and property. He believed that class distinctions were the cornerstone of society. And Cromwell's monopoly of power was resented. Cromwell wanted to monopolize power that people did not like. Cromwell's monopoly of power was resented by the people. And later, his son Richard Cromwell tried to come to power, but he was an ineffectual ruler. And then what happened? The aristocrats, they went to France and brought back Charles II, the son of Charles I. He was growing up in Scotland and France, and he became Charles II. He came to power in 1660. That is called the Restoration. Okay, everybody. Now let me unmute your chat box. Tell me, guys, please, who is the most important writer of the Restoration period? Restoration period. Most important writer of the Restoration period. It is John Dryden. John Dryden. In the Restoration period, Milton was declining. Even though he wrote his best works at that time, he was declining in popularity. He was popular before that. John Dryden became popular at this time. Okay, we know Restoration comedy. Who are the major writers of Restoration comedy? Congreve, Wycherley, Etheridge. That's right. As I've told you, you should read and come. Okay, are you reading and coming? Every day, you should read what I've taught you. You should read what I'm going to teach you. Then you will get the best results. Hundreds of people, 500 people have already announced that because of Balad, they have passed. We have crossed 500. Last batch and the batch before that, we had 1,000 pass. Now we have crossed 500. Inshallah, with God's grace, we'll cross 1,000. And you will pass this time. If you do what I'm saying. You have to be with me. You know what I'm saying? All the people who passed in the offline classes were people who were with me, because I'm giving them intuitive knowledge. I get ideas. Okay, this is going to come. This will happen. And then it will really inspire you to study in the right direction. So please attend classes and do what I'm saying. Read and come. It will be immensely helpful. Okay, everyone? Yes. So that's it. Thank you very much. It is 8:30, so I will stop now. And we will give you the updated PDF. Every PDF has new information. Go through it. Read not only the encyclopedia, read the PDF, because that is the updated work, updated material. And read it and come. Okay, guys. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye. I'll teach you in the evening. What did you say, Sindhu? Characters and virtues of virtues and vices is a general term. It is, there are many people who wrote it. That is why I said that, Sindhu. Okay.